In the year 1721, the pirate ship Black Tide vanished somewhere deep within the Caribbean Sea after sailing into a violent storm unlike anything sailors had ever seen. Witnesses claimed the ocean itself turned black that night. Massive waves swallowed entire ships, while strange blue lightning illuminated the sky above the water for hours. By morning, the storm had disappeared completely. So had the Black Tide. No wreckage was ever found. No bodies. No survivors. Over time, the pirate vessel became little more than another legend whispered across dark taverns near the ports of Jamaica. But centuries later, strange rumors began spreading once again. Fishermen reported seeing an old black ship drifting silently through heavy fog at night. Some claimed they heard distant singing across the ocean, while others swore they saw lantern lights moving on board despite the vessel appearing abandoned. Most people ignored the stories. Until October 2028. Ethan Rowe worked as a marine historian living near the coast of Kingston. For years, he researched vanished pirate ships and unexplained disappearances across the Caribbean Sea. When several local fishermen arrived terrified at the harbor one night, describing an ancient vessel emerging from the fog, Ethan immediately became interested, especially after one fisherman described the ship's symbol, a black flag carrying a silver skull surrounded by blue flames. The mark of the Black Tide. Determined to investigate, Ethan convinced a small documentary crew to join him aboard a fishing trawler heading toward the area where the ship had last been seen. The ocean remained strangely calm during the journey. Too calm. No birds crossed the sky. No other ships appeared on radar. Then shortly after midnight, thick fog began surrounding the vessel from every direction. The boat's navigation systems immediately started malfunctioning. Compasses spun wildly. The radio filled with static. And somewhere within the darkness ahead, a bell rang slowly across the water. Dong, dong, dong. The crew froze. Then they saw it. An enormous ship emerging silently through the fog. The Black Tide. The vessel looked impossibly ancient. Torn black sails hung from massive wooden masts, while rusted cannons lined both sides of the ship. Barnacles covered the dark hull as seawater poured endlessly from broken holes along the deck. Yet despite appearing centuries old, the ship was moving. Slowly. Silently. Without wind. Without crew. The documentary cameraman whispered nervously. That thing should not still exist. Ethan stared toward the ghostly vessel, unable to speak. Then lightning illuminated the upper deck for a brief moment. Several figures stood there motionless in the darkness. Watching them, the crew immediately tried turning the boat around. But the engine suddenly died. Every light aboard the trawler shut off instantly. Now only the Black Tide remained visible through the fog. Then came the singing. Low voices drifting across the ocean from somewhere aboard the ancient pirate ship. A song in a language none of them understood. And slowly, the Black Tide began moving closer. The Black Tide drifted silently beside Ethan's trawler while thick fog swallowed the surrounding ocean completely. No stars remained visible. No moonlight reached the water. Only the ancient pirate ship moved through the darkness like a shadow from another century. The crew stood frozen in fear as the strange singing continued across the sea. Low voices. Slow. Almost mournful. Then something slammed against the side of the trawler beneath the water. Everyone jumped. What was that? One cameraman whispered. Before anyone could answer, a rope ladder suddenly dropped from the side of the Black Tide directly beside them. Nobody aboard the ghost ship could be seen. Yet the ladder swayed gently, as if inviting them upward. Ethan knew they should leave immediately. But curiosity overcame fear. Grabbing a flashlight and camera, he climbed aboard the ancient vessel alongside two crew members. The moment their feet touched the wooden deck, the singing stopped. Silence filled the ship instantly. The deck looked abandoned for centuries. Broken barrels rolled slowly with the movement of the ocean, while seawater dripped endlessly from torn sails overhead. Yet strange details made Ethan uneasy. Fresh footprints covered parts of the wet deck. Lanterns hanging beside the mast still burned faintly blue. And despite the ship's age, the wood felt strangely warm beneath his boots. One crew member noticed movement near the captain's cabin, but when they turned their lights toward it, nobody stood there. Then they heard footsteps below deck. Slow, heavy. Someone, or something, was moving beneath them. Against their better judgment, The group descended into the lower corridors of the black tide. The interior smelled of salt water and decay. Ancient maps covered the walls beside rusted weapons and torn pirate flags. The interior smelled of salt water and decay. Ancient maps covered the walls beside rusted weapons and torn pirate flags. Then Ethan noticed something impossible. The clocks inside the ship were still ticking. Every single one displayed the exact same time. 12:17 a.m. Suddenly the corridor lights flickered blue. The footsteps below them stopped. Then a voice whispered from the darkness ahead. "You should not have returned." The crew immediately turned their flashlights forward. At the end of the corridor stood a tall pirate wearing a soaked black coat. His skin looked pale gray beneath the dim lantern light, while seawater dripped steadily from beneath his hat. Most horrifying of all, his eyes glowed faint blue in the darkness. The pirate slowly smiled, then vanished instantly. One crew member panicked and ran back toward the deck. Moments later, screaming echoed through the ship. Ethan and the others rushed upstairs only to find the deck completely empty. The trawler was gone. The fog remained endless around them, and the black tide was still moving deeper into the darkness of the Caribbean Sea. Panic spread across the remaining crew aboard the black tide. Their only boat had vanished. The surrounding ocean remained hidden beneath thick black fog, while the ancient pirate ship continued drifting silently through the darkness. Ethan attempted using the emergency radio he carried from the trawler. Nothing, only static. Then distant thunder echoed across the sea. One cameraman pointed toward the horizon nervously. Strange blue lights had begun appearing beneath the water surrounding the ship. At first, Ethan thought they were reflections from lightning. But the lights were moving, circling the black tide slowly beneath the waves. Then the ship suddenly stopped. The singing returned immediately, this time louder. The voices seemed to come from everywhere aboard the vessel at once. The crew followed the sound toward the lower cargo deck, where an enormous iron door stood partially open. Ancient symbols had been carved into the metal surface centuries earlier. Salt water leaked steadily from beneath it. Ethan carefully pushed the heavy door wider. Beyond it waited a massive chamber hidden deep inside the ship. Treasure filled the room from floor to ceiling. Mountains of gold coins, ancient jewels, silver crosses, broken crowns from forgotten kingdoms. But something else stood at the center of the chamber. A giant black chest wrapped tightly in rusted chains. The singing stopped the moment they entered. Then a deep voice echoed from the darkness behind them. "The sea remembers every debt." The pirate captain stood beside the doorway watching them silently. Unlike before, Ethan could now see the captain clearly. Parts of his face looked skeletal beneath soaked skin, while barnacles covered portions of his black coat. Yet his glowing blue eyes remained fixed directly on Ethan. "You carry the mark," the captain whispered. Ethan felt confused. "What mark?" The captain slowly raised one hand toward Ethan's neck. Only then did Ethan remember the old silver pendant he always wore, a family heirloom passed down for generations. The captain stared at it silently. "That belonged to my bloodline." Suddenly, the chained chest in the center of the room began shaking violently. The entire ship trembled. Several gold coins rolled across the floor, while seawater burst from cracks in the walls. One terrified crew member tried grabbing treasure from the floor. The pirate captain instantly turned toward him. "Do not touch the cursed gold." But it was too late. The moment the man lifted a coin, his skin immediately began turning pale gray. Veins darkened across his face, while seawater poured from his mouth. The crew backed away in horror as the man collapsed screaming onto the flooded floor. Then he slowly stood again, his eyes now glowing blue like the captain's. Another member of the cursed crew. The captain looked toward Ethan once more. The black tide never releases what belongs to the sea. Then something massive slammed against the underside of the ship from Bell. The entire black tide shook violently as something enormous moved beneath the ship. Water exploded upward through cracks in the cargo chamber floor, while terrified crew members struggled to remain standing. Another impact struck from below. Boom. The chained black chest at the center of the room rattled uncontrollably. The pirate captain suddenly looked afraid. For the first time since boarding the ghost ship, Ethan saw genuine fear in the undead sailor's glowing eyes. "It has awakened," the captain whispered. The blue lights surrounding the ship beneath the ocean grew brighter. Through broken holes in the hull, Ethan could see massive shadows circling below the water, shapes far larger than whales. Then the cargo chamber lights extinguished completely. Darkness swallowed everything except the glowing eyes of the cursed pirate crew slowly appearing throughout the room. One by one, more undead sailors emerged from the flooded corridors carrying rusted swords and lanterns burning with blue fire. The captain stepped toward Ethan urgently. If the chest opens, the sea will never sleep again. Another deafening impact struck the ship. The chains around the chest snapped one after another. Crack, crack, crack. Something inside was trying to escape. The undead crew immediately knelt across the chamber whispering prayers in ancient voices. Then Ethan noticed strange writing carved across the chest lid. Not pirate symbols. Warnings. Do not break the seal. Suddenly, one cameraman screamed and pointed toward the flooded corridor entrance. A gigantic hand covered in black scales slowly emerged from the seawater. Then another. Something enormous was climbing aboard the black tide from beneath the ocean itself. The pirate captain drew his rusted sword immediately. Get to the upper deck. The crew ran through collapsing corridors while seawater flooded deeper into the ship behind them. All around them, undead pirates moved silently toward battle positions beside the cannons. Outside, the fog had turned black. Lightning illuminated impossible shapes moving beneath the ocean around the vessel. Then Ethan finally saw the creature rising beside the ship. A monstrous figure larger than the black tide itself slowly emerged from the water, covered in scales and chains. Its glowing eyes opened across the darkness like burning blue fire. The captain stared toward the creature grimly. For 3 centuries we kept it imprisoned beneath the sea. The monster roared. The sound shook the entire ocean. Then the chest below deck exploded open. Chaos consumed the black tide as the cursed chest burst apart deep within the ship. A wave of black water erupted upward through the decks while terrifying screams echoed across the storm-covered ocean surrounding the Caribbean Sea near Jamaica. The massive sea creature circled the ghost ship beneath crashing waves while undead pirates prepared for their final battle. Lightning illuminated the horrifying scene. Blue fire burned across the cannons. Ghostly sailors loaded rusted weapons. And standing at the center of the deck, the pirate captain watched the rising storm with glowing eyes filled with centuries of exhaustion. Ethan approached him carefully. What is that thing? The captain remained silent for several moments before answering. In 1721, my crew stole treasure from a forbidden island hidden beyond these waters. Thunder shook the ship violently. We awakened something sleeping beneath the ocean. The captain looked toward the monstrous shadow circling beneath the waves. To stop it, we made a bargain with the sea itself. Ethan slowly understood. The black tide had never vanished. It had become a prison. For 300 years, the cursed pirate crew remained trapped between life and death, guarding the creature beneath the ocean. But now the seal had broken. The sea monster suddenly attacked. Massive claws slammed against the side of the black tide while enormous waves crashed across the deck. Several undead pirates were dragged screaming into the dark water below. The captain shouted toward Ethan. The pendant. Ethan grabbed the silver pendant hanging around his neck. The captain nodded. My blood sealed the curse. Yours can end it. The storm intensified around them as the creature rose higher from the ocean, revealing rows of glowing blue eyes stretching across its gigantic head. The captain handed Ethan an ancient dagger covered in strange symbols. Destroy the heart beneath the cargo deck. Without hesitation, Ethan raced below through collapsing corridors flooded with seawater. The lower chambers of the ship had become almost completely submerged. At the center of the ruined cargo room floated a glowing blue sphere surrounded by black smoke. The heart of the curse. The ship trembled violently as the monster continued attacking above. Ethan raised the dagger, then plunged it directly into the glowing sphere. Instantly, the entire black tide erupted with blinding blue light. The sea creature screamed across the storm. The undead pirates slowly began turning to ash beneath the rain. And for the first time in centuries, the pirate captain smiled peacefully. The black tide started sinking rapidly beneath the ocean. Ethan barely escaped aboard floating wreckage as the ghost ship disappeared forever beneath the dark waves. By sunrise, the storm had vanished completely. No trace of the black tide remained. Only Ethan's camera survived. And on the final recording, One figure could still be seen standing silently inside the fog far across.